welcome to Lessons Learnt. I'm Sherry. This is your Wednesday video. We're continuing on with our pick and mix sew along. This is week 3 and we'll be putting our blocks together. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out the previous 2 episodes and you'll get all the information on it. You can join in anytime. This is an easy project. It's easy to catch up on if you're a couple weeks behind. Not a problem. So I have my American Patchwork and Quilting magazine that has this sew along in it, and this week we're going to be in week 3, as I said, but we're going to be doing on page 18 steps 4 through 7, and that's this area right here. This whole column on page 18 is what we're going to do. So you're going to want to pay attention to this figure here and this figure here and stop there. But you will have complete blocks, your main blocks, once you get all 16 of these blocks done. So to start from our project board or project bin, whatever you happen to be, we want to go ahead and pick our pieced units of our blocks that we did last week. So we have this one and we have this one, and we're going to need to take our 16 middle sections of our blocks and use those, and then we need 64 of these. So we've cut a quantity of these larger than that, but we need 4 of these on the corners of each of our 16 blocks. So I'm going to go ahead and count out 64 of these. So I'm going to take what's left, leave it here on the board. I had some leftovers from last week. I'm just going to keep those here for now. I'll probably wind up putting those in the scrap bin, and then I can just do away with my board for now and just have the pieces sitting here that I need to deal with. Okay, so if we look at figure 3 or diagram 3 on page 18, we're going to see that we need to put our blocks in this sort of formation. I'm just going to go ahead and pick some random things. If I need to change some stuff around, I will. And I think I probably will be switching things around. It looks like to me that you could mix up your smaller squares, but I think in my case, I think I want to keep the same 4 there. That I think I want to keep the same 4 in the corners, so something like this, and then the same 4 around the edges. Do I want to do it that way? See, this is something that you're going to have to decide. The pattern is showing you that yes, you would use the same color in the 2 different positions, and then even something different in the center. So I'm just going to take a look here because I'm starting to feel like this needs to be here. So I'm probably going to have a little bit of a mess as I put my first one together until I kind of get the rhythm of what I'm doing. So this is real-time experimentation here. And it looks like this one needs to go... Okay, these need to go like this. This is why you don't just grab and start sewing, because you kind of need to know how are all these going to work together. So there we go. All of the little plain bars go to the center, and then I can use something else in the center of this. So that makes quite a pretty block, doesn't it? Let me just go ahead and put something else in here just to see if I don't want to mix it up a little bit more dramatically. See, all of my prints are going to go together because it's from one layer cake. So no matter how I put them, as long as I keep these 4 positions, these 4 positions, and then pick a center square, it's going to be pretty, it's going to coordinate no matter what, really. So I don't know, I like this one, but I'm going to try to not think about it too awfully much, because then you get into issues with overthinking it. So here we are with a potentially completed block, and the figure is telling us to sew this section together, this section together, and this section together. And that's pretty normal for a big, you know, kind of a 9-patch type of construction. Yeah, we would put these together here, sew those up, and it's telling us, if you look at the little arrows on the top of diagram 3, you see that once you get these sewn together, these 3 pieces, your seam allowance is going to go outward on those. So you'll press this way and this way. And then this one is the same thing. You'll put them together here, but you will press inward toward the center block. And then again down here, you put your 3 pieces together and then press these seams outward. And that makes it to where when you put your seams together, they're going to nest. So these seam allowances here will go this way, and these will go this way, and these will go that way. And they'll all nest perfectly together. All your points will come together, and you'll have a perfectly square block. Okay, so that is the first stage of this week's assignment, is to put these blocks together. So I'm going to go ahead and do a few of these, and then I'll show you what the second step is, or second assignment we have for this week 3. So let me go ahead and do a few of these, and then I'll be right back to show you what my blocks look like. So here I've sewed my first 2 pieces of each row. I chain stitched those. They're not pressed open yet. I've just got them in these pairs here. And so I can go ahead and press those to the direction indicated on the pattern, or I could open them and press them all open, and then put this last piece on. And then at that point, you'll have your 3 sections that you need to join here. And I most likely will, let me see how the pattern goes. I most likely will open these final seams, this long seam and this long seam, just to get a little more flatness in my block, because I am going to follow the directions of the pattern to press my seams outward here and inward here. And those will nest really nice and get all the points very nicely matched up. And then after that, that final long seam will be open, I do believe. So I'm going to continue on with this. And I am using, again, as I was using last week, a 2 stitch length on this. So now I can just chain piece these additions to each row, cut those apart, and then I'll have my 3 big sections. Alright, so now we have our 3 big sections. And those can all just be sewn together. These 2 first, and then add this one on. First though, I will be pressing my vertical seams that I just finished. So here you can see that I pressed outward on that top row and inward on the second row. So when you push those seams up against each other, they land right nicely together. You can pin those there. There's no other seams to match up across the width of this seam I'm getting ready to do. So as long as those are nesting up good together, see how they nest up? Then there's no need to pin. But if you need to do a little creative stretching to get those to nest nicely, you might want to pin them in place. Okay, here's the wrong side of my block, and my 2 long seams have been sewn. The directions say to press these seams toward the center. So this one would go down, this one would go up. My preference, and you can do that, that's what they're suggesting, nothing wrong with it. My preference is to iron open. So I'm going to iron mine open. I'm going to use my little, I think it's called Seams Right, my little wool dome-shaped thing I have over there that I just got. I'm going to use that to get it open, and then I'm going to use some Acorn Easy Press Pin starch on there and press it one more time. So here's what my block looks like on the back. I press my seams according to their directions on all the sub pieces, but then the 3 big chunks I decided to open my seams. I think my block turned out great. It's flat and it's accurate. And some of the methods that I use you might want to try. There's nothing wrong with any other method you want to do. You know, you can certainly press those seams towards each other, and that will probably make them nest with some of those interior blocks correctly. But there's nothing wrong with doing it open as well. You're still going to have success at those junctions. I just prefer to do that because there's so many little seams that are flipped over. I didn't want to double that up by pressing the whole seam to one side. So this makes it a little flatter, makes it a little easier on the long arm, and yeah, it turned out good. And I didn't pay any attention to that text pattern on these blocks right here. I just went ahead and laid them down there the way they were and let them fall where they may. So that whole little anxiety I had about the text print just kind of went out the window, and I think it looks great. Alright, I'm going to do some more blocks, and then in a little bit I'll show you how to put that corner piece on, and that'll be all of our assignment for this week 3. I'm finding that it's easier to just start in the middle. Just pick the next one on the stack for the middle block, and then go through your stacks of 4 of these. Just keep them in 4s because I got some of mine out of order earlier, and I was like, I've got to go through all of these again just to get to the one I want. I think I want this green one. Let's do that. And then always make sure that this little strip goes towards your middle block, because I have turned one around. One, that's not too bad, right? I think I have 4 blocks done now. So it's very tempting to do this, but always remember that plain strip goes towards your middle. Otherwise, you're gonna have problems. So let's see, I don't want the same one there. Let's do, this might be pretty. Let's do this black one. Yeah. At first I thought, oh, all my blocks are just going to look alike. But no, they are coming out very different from each other, even though it's the same fabric line and everything. But definitely would be a fun, scrappy pattern to use. Okay, give it another look before you start sewing. And yes, I have turned one around. So let's get down into some of the details of the ironing. I've told you what I do as far as the ironing and pressing of blocks during construction, but now I'm going to show you. So I mentioned on the pattern that these seam allowances will go this way, and these will go this way. So what I do to get that, I make sure my seam allowances go in the way that I want to take it. And then I take my iron, and not the point, but the side of the iron, just beyond the tip, and kind of hold up my last piece there, and let that seam allowance go that way naturally by itself. So then I'll just turn it and do that same thing again. Just let it run across. Sorry, my arm's in the way. Let me see if I can do that better. Okay, so this piece is ready for sewing again. Now this one goes inward. We're going to make those two seams go inward. So then I'll turn it this way and do that same thing. Don't use the point of your iron into those. It will mess up your block, especially if there's a bias seam in there. This one's not, but still you don't want to do that. So just right along the edge. See how I'm holding it up? And then over and press. This one goes towards the outside, so I'm just going to pick that particular seam there and let it go towards the outside and press down. Turn it because I'm right-handed. That same thing again here on this side. Remember that you need to turn this back. And like I mentioned before, just remember you have these thin, plain pieces going around your circle here. And make sure these aren't turned like this. So you should have white all the way around, or light, whatever your background is. So now I'm going to sew these two long seams together, and I'll show you what pressing I do on those. Okay, here's my fully finished block, but I need to deal with these two seams, and as I told you before, I use this seam thing lay my unironed seam out there. Just tease it open with the iron and your fingers and go down through there one time, about like that, and then do the other one. This really opens that seam the way I want it opened. And then remove that, and I'm using my Easy Press, my Acorn Easy Press. It's almost empty. I need to refill it. You can refill these. You get a little bottle of it, and it's just a starch material that's in there, or liquid. It's kind of like a felt tip marker. That's how it gets on there, and it makes your seams nice and flat. Okay, and there is my finished block, all flat and pressed and ready to add to my stack over here. So there we go. Flat seams, flat blocks. I have all of these done. Now, this is not a finished block. We have one more step we need to do. And I just want to mention, I know why they call this pick and mix now. Once you start doing this project, you'll know why they chose that name. I thought it was kind of odd at first, but now I know why. And this is such a fun block. And you could make a quilt with just these blocks and just hook them all together, or just put some simple sashing in between. Make a table runner or a table topper, a little square one, or whatever. You just make it as big as you want it, I guess. Anyway, our next step is this. Remember those 64 squares that I counted out? It's time to put these on. So don't, if you do like I do and starch and trim, this isn't time. It isn't time to do that yet. So we're not done with this block. So we're going to take these, and if you are of the camp who likes to draw a line for stitch and flips, you need to do that to all of these. I use seam tape, which keeps me in line for, going from corner to corner. You can pin these on as well, just to make sure. So you just want to make sure that you have your sides lined up very nicely, very perfectly. Your line that you draw would be here if you're doing that. So just take these and just make a corner to corner, one corner to corner line on each one, and then go through and add them to the corners of each of these blocks at this stage. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting the corner over here on the red line of my seam tape. And if you don't know what seam tape is, it looks like this. And the two black lines are 1/4 inch away from the needle, and the red one is the needle. So that's what I have down on my sewing machine bed here. And that's what I'm going to use to guide this through to the other corner. Now, I could take all my blocks and just feed one corner through, and then clip those apart, go through and do another corner until I had all 4 corners. But for the purpose of this video, I am going to do each one separately on this one block so that you can see how this is going to turn out and what to do after this. So let me go ahead and get my 4 corners on. Okay, so I have my 4 corners on. These are going to flip over like this. That's why they're called stitch and flip. But you want to make sure that they look pretty accurate. And then you could just take and cut a 1/4 inch beyond your seam line. Right here. You can definitely do that with your rotary cutter and a ruler. But I just like to guess at it. Now I'm going to go over to the iron and I'm going to press this over just like I showed you earlier. Now this is a bias edge now on this side. So you definitely don't want to use the point of your iron there, but rather use the edge of one side, start on each side, do a little press here, a little press here, and then press the rest of it without stretching. Not much pressure at all to get those pressed out. Let me do that and I'll be right back. Okay, so I did a little starch like I always do and pressed these out, and I measured my block and it does measure exactly 12.5, but I probably will go and take a square ruler that's about this big. This is a 4.5 one. Or you could use your big ruler on your big mat wherever you work. But I just have this here for demo purposes. But I would probably trim. See how my corner is just a tad over? I probably would trim that off. But I will do it over on my cutting table with just a normal ruler. I'll probably, put the whole ruler along here. Trim a little bit off here, and if there's any over here, and just turn it until I have those all trimmed perfectly. So I just wanted to show you that there is a teeny tiny bit right there that could be trimmed off, as well as the ravelings. So that is what a finished block looks like. Great, right? I love these blocks. I would definitely make this pattern again, I think. Yeah. So I want to continue on and put these on, and I will be finished for week 3. Today is Wednesday when this video came out. The first day of week 3 starts Friday. So you'll have Friday till the following Friday. I'll have another video next Wednesday. Starting to work on some of those other parts of the quilt outside of the blocks, and we're already halfway there. So thanks for watching, and I hope you're joining along on this sew along with me, and be sure to post your progress out on the Facebook group, and there's a link in the description box. Alright, thanks very much. I'll see you soon. Bye.